Alright, so it's no secret that Ben Reilly is easily my favorite character to take on the mantle of Spider-Man. And it's also no secret that Marvel Editorial has been dragging him through the mud for, I don't know, like 2 decades? It seems like every time the character has managed to take a step forward, he's immediately sent careening 10 steps backwards and into a shallow grave. Seriously, the amount of times this guy has kicked the bucket is just insulting. It's even become a bit of a joke among his fans. You see, Ben Reilly was created during a time when readers weren't super happy with the doom and gloom direction Peter Parker was being taken in. They missed the more plucky and rash Peter, who quipped at his villains and didn't have an emotional breakdown sobbing over his dead parents in front of the Green Goblin. Ben filled that role. He was a cool, snappy new Spidey who fans tended to love. At first, anyway. A lot happens, yada yada, and suddenly, he's not just a Spidey, he's the Spidey. But at this point, the Clone Saga had dragged on so long that readers were dropping like flies. They were bored of this storyline, confused by the titles dropping at once from multiple sources, and Marvel Editorial decided enough was enough. Get Peter Parker back in the webs, get rid of that baby by any means necessary, and get rid of Ben. Bada bing, bada boom, one glider wound to the back, and one final retcon, and Ben Reilly was history. His death was mentioned a few times here and there, but overall, Marvel just kind of wanted to forget about everyone's favorite blonde wallcrawler. So, let's put that on the board, shall we? 1 death so far. And stick around, true believers. We're getting into the double digits by the end of this. Ben wasn't brought back until 2015 by writer Mike Costa in the Spider-Verse tie-in comic, The Scarlet Spiders. The sensational Spider-Man from Earth 94 was a version of the character who never got sent to the big farm where he can spend all day running around in the fields by the Green Goblin, and from then on was never beaten, not even once. Wherever Peter Parker had failed in Earth 616, Ben succeeded. He stopped Otto from taking over his body. He stopped the death of J. Jonah Jameson's wife, and on and on. But unfortunately, he would soon meet his end by the end of the comic. In a last-ditch effort to stop the Inheritors and save both Kane and Ultimate Jessica Drew from a similar fate, he ended up sacrificing himself in a blaze of glory. Once again, Ben died a hero. And if you're gonna kick him into the grave, that's the way it should be. He's a hero through and through, and he'll always remain that way. But of course, Dan Slott didn't think so. In fact, he figured Ben was a cocky, good-for-nothing bum who stole the Spider-Man title and deserved to be punished for it. So in his comic, The Clone Conspiracy from the god-awful year of 2016, Slott dragged Reilly through the mud so hard that he hasn't fully recovered to this day. And if you're counting, that's 2 deaths on the board now. It's about to be a lot more. Slott decided that the best way to bring back a fan-favorite character who had an unjust end was to have him brutally tortured and executed 27 times. And then make him a villain who tries to destroy the entire world before dying yet again. He turns to dust, basically. So yeah, that's 28 deaths added to the board. He survives miraculously, though, and goes on to star in Peter David's Scarlet Spider run, which sucked. But I'm going to keep that death on the board not as a physical manifestation, but as a death of the character we knew and loved, because we never got him back after this. And before we get to the Scarlet Spider run, we gotta pop on over to Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man Life Story, a wildly overrated mess of a Spidey comic that I wish people would stop talking about. I'm sorry, I love Zdarsky. This thing just misses the mark for me. More power to you if you like it, though. Ben Reilly's in it, for a minute. And the only thing we get to see him do is meet God. Horribly. Moving on. Peter David's Scarlet Spider run kinda sucked, since it tried and failed to pick up the pieces of the mess Slott left behind, and it had no shortage of Ben Reilly deaths. The entire run is marred by this overbearing bad boy energy that is such a departure from the actual character that I can't even really call it a Ben Reilly story. Hell, it's more of a Kane story anyway. But of course, it ends with both Kane and Ben dying. Well, Kane's fate is left up in the air at the end, but Ben, he gets riddled with bullets. But hey, it's comics, so he gets brought back in the same issue. And, okay, hold on, context first. David's run is bad, sure, but it spent most of its time at the very least trying to make Ben a hero again, even having Lady Death clean up his soul a little and give him a final warning. If he gets sent out to pasture again, he's done. His soul is gonna get claimed by Mephisto, and he's gonna come back as evil and broken. And you know what happens at the end of the run? He dies, accepts it, and then some angel whatever is like, "Hey homie, I gotcha, I'll bring you back." And Ben's like, no, Lady Death said I'd be evil if I got brought back again. And the angel goes, no, don't worry, she was wrong. And he gets brought back, and wouldn't you know it, he's evil. And that's just how it ends. I'm not even kidding. The last couple panels are Ben laughing maniacally and game-ending Kane out of the blue. But I guess Marvel editorial was just in shambles or something at this time, because the next time we see Ben and Kane, they're totally fine? This is Spider Geddon, by the way, a Spider-Verse event so bad it makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. But yeah, they're both alive and in good health and not evil and not mad at each other. And they never mention what happened at the end of David's run. At all. It's hilarious, and frankly, I think it should be done more often when a run makes a wildly bad decision like that. Just pretend it never happened and move on. So, Spider Geddon happens, Ben gets the evil sucked out of him by vampires, which I don't know if I should count that, but I'm going to, because I'm petty. So what is that now, 32? Jesus. And we all thought Rory got put through the ringer, huh? But after that, Ben's able to stay out of the spotlight and keep a low profile. And thank goodness for that, because the new MO for his character seems to be to make him a villain or kill him off in every new appearance. And we all know what's coming next, and we all know my thoughts on it. Spider-Man Beyond. A massive waste of time that was just a big fake-out to make us think they weren't going to make him a villain again. The story sucks, I don't recommend it, and I have no idea why Nick Lowe and Zeb Wells have decided to character assassinate Ben like this, just because they personally don't like him. Let another writer handle him then. Let him be his own thing. Beyond and Chasm and all this, it's just cruel. Cruel and poorly written. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth even talking about it. But if you don't know, Beyond ends with Reilly getting his memories wiped and becoming a villain for the 3rd time in a row. And I'll count that as his 33rd death. That's right, true believers, his whopping 33rd death. And that's it. That's the video. I'm angry. There's oil everywhere, and I'm in desperate need of a recharge. So I'm ending it here. If I missed any, let me know. I'll have a good cry about it and get back to you, okay? Oh, and I'm slapping a Ben Reilly Spider-Man comic dub from JMD at the end of this, just as a little palate cleanser. I'm sure we all need it. Go check out that comic. It's a love letter to the character from a writer who actually cares about him. So this is the Synth Voice Network signing off for the night. See ya. One thread in the intricate tapestry that defined me. No, not me. Him. Parker. But after 5 long years on the road, that name, that life, is behind me now. So far behind me that it seems like a dream. I may have been Peter Parker once, but I'm Ben Reilly now, and I always will be. But the problem is, I don't know who Ben Reilly is. 5 years ago, I discovered I was Parker's clone. A bargain basement knockoff of a human being, created by Miles Warren, the Jackal, a living weapon in his war against Parker's alter ego, Spider-Man. Everything I'd ever known, felt, believed, experienced, all of it was a lie. So I turned my back on Parker's world, taking his uncle's first name and his aunt's maiden name. My only concession to the past, and I got on a motorcycle and I rode west. I lived 100 lives as I crossed America. Made my way to Europe, Asia, but no matter how desperately I tried to make Reilly into a man, instead of a mannequin, I failed. At least until I met Janine. Her love was the only thing that seemed real in the shadow world I inhabited. But even that was eventually lost to me. No, one other thing was horribly real. My brother, my fellow clone Kane, whose entire existence seemed focused on destroying mine, and now Janine and Kane are both in prison. And me? These past few months, my life was upended again by 2 staggering events. The death of the aunt whose memory gave me so much solace during my years away, and the discovery that the person we all believed was Peter was the clone. And I was the true Peter Parker. But I couldn't just step into a life that was no longer mine. I wasn't Peter. He and Mary Jane were expecting their first child. So they went off to Portland, and I pray they find the happily ever after they deserve. While I That is the question, right, Hamlet? What do I do? Sure, it's great to be back in New York City. Great to be Spider-Man again. Swinging over the streets, taking down the bad guys. Now that's a life I understand. But Reilly's life? I'm just a ghost, haunting myself. And sometimes, late at night, I can't help wondering, what if they were wrong? What if I'm not the real one? What if I am some inhuman monster birthed in a chemical stew? What? Now this is more like it. When I slip on the mask, I slap on the web shooters, I know exactly who I am, what's expected of me. And I'm happy. Happy because there's a homicidal maniac on the loose? Is that the person I've become? No, that's not it. I'm happy because, as Spider-Man, I can find the meaning and purpose I'm missing. Because I know I can make a positive difference in the world. There were times in the past, in that dream life I lived before, when I thought being Spider-Man was a curse. But now, I see so clearly that it's a blessing.